Good morning and welcome to IT Live, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors, here on the Inside Texas YouTube channel. If you're here, thank you for joining us. We're here every Thursday. We're here pretty much every day. So make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're talking a bunch of spring football. We've also got basketball and baseball on this channel, with the portal heating up, with recruiting heating up, with everything heating up. So with that in mind, make sure that you head to InsideTexas.com. Do that. You can sign up and get 4 months of access for just $1. It is April 3rd. That gets you through August 3rd. And by that point, there should be some pads on. So make sure you head to InsideTexas.com, sign up. You can get 4 months for $1. April's already packed. We got the spring fan fest at the end of the month. Then there's visits, intel, all that stuff in May. And, of course, official visits, visit intel in June, team info throughout. And, hey, we may have a little bit of a College World Series run to talk about. And, Ian, I'll explain to you how the super regional system works, because I remember that was a sticking point for us a while back. But we got some more important things to talk about today. First, we will go over the play, Ian, that you wrote about that can help unlock Arch Manning in the offense. And it's a little bit ironic that this play, and at least how you describe it, comes from two different schools, or was famously used by two different schools north of the Red River in the Big Eight.
Yeah, GT counter, baby. In particular, GT counter read, which was made famous by Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. In my book, available on Amazon, Flyover Football, GT counter read comes up a lot as I tell the story of the Big 12. Because Tom Osborne would get Nebraska into the shotgun and run a GT counter play for the quarterback. I put a GIF below of Scott Frost running it. And it was just lethal because they'd spread teams out, even though the receivers are all white boy Nebraska.
They're in 3-point stances, basically.
A bunch of Brian Whites.
They're not going to hurt you, in the passing game. But you spread out to defend them, and then Scott Frost is running downhill behind pulling blockers. Texas stole this play from Vince Young. South Lake Carroll used to run this in their spread for the quarterback. And then many, many years later, Lincoln Riley was like, hey, what if we ran GT counter from the spread for the running back? But instead of trying to block somebody on the backside with a tight end or a fullback or a running back, we let the quarterback read it like it's zone read.
So let's go ahead.
No, go ahead. Cut me off.
So let's look at the Scott Frost version.
Yeah.
Good old Big 8 game. Actually, this is a Big 12 game, and this is the year. Yeah. This is the year they won the Big 12 and the national title, right?
Yes.
Yes. The last one.
Yeah.
So the glory days. So as you can see, here are a bunch of receivers spread out wide. Must have been a jarring look for Nebraska fans back then. And you can kind of tell, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 down linemen. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then two. So they're in a single high, it looks like. Are they playing nickel here?
I doubt it.
That's a lot. That's definitely a linebacker.
Yeah.
Over on the short side of the screen. So we'll watch what happens. And does this come to the short side or to the field side?
The short side.
Okay.
Right?
So
I think so.
Man, there's not going to be a lot of room on that short side.
Yeah, these are big Nebraska boys. So
just wait, Justin.
At this point, this is the guy. Well, let's just let it play. Here we go. 2nd and 13.
Nobody touches him.
And he didn't need 5 downs to do that.
We'll do one more time. Watch the left tackle and the left guard pull, and then we'll go back again to highlight something else. The left guard and left tackle pull,
And they barely put a hat. It looks like the left tackle barely puts a hat on somebody. That's a lot of stuff happening in one space, one small space. I felt like.
I'll go one more time. So the left guard and left tackle pull, but then watch now the right tackle and the right guard just go straight forward and look forward. So you have this drawn up. Well, now we get to look at the Lincoln Riley version, and this was something that, for a little bit of background, it wasn't just counter read that he made a staple. He just turned GT counter read or no read into something the Sooners were excellent at because of a variety of options he could run off of it. Correct?
I think the read element was pretty big though. Like the quarterback on GT read doesn't even usually have to do anything. Just the threat of the quarterback keeping the ball around the backside makes the defensive end stay home, and then you don't have to block him. So they would run it all the time, but the quarterback usually does not run the ball himself.
So this is 2016, right?
This is 2015. This is when
15.
they dethroned Art.
So let's see where it goes.
Is 15 when Riley was there? I thought that was still
Yep.
Stoops.
Riley was there. He was just offensive coordinator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's before he edged out Stoops.
Yeah.
So as this comes at your screen, watch the right tackle and the right guard. And it's their role here is very important because there's going to be a player in black who's just left untouched. And kind of unique when you think about a read play, that's not necessarily the read. It's untouched because that pulling tackle, I believe, has to kick him out. So watch the right tackle.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, the right guard. Go ahead. The right guard has to, because he's getting there first, he's got to find, I think Homer was talking about yesterday, the most dangerous man. Well, boom, there he is. And then the tackle can get up to the next level, and then there you go. But you said there's a read to this. What is Baker reading here?
On the other side that they're pulling from, your center blocks down on a defensive tackle. Your two non-pulling linemen block down on the other defensive tackle and climb up to the linebacker. And the backside defensive end, the guy that the running back was blocking for Nebraska, nobody blocks him for Oklahoma. He's totally unblocked. But it's like a zone read. If he crashes after the running back, the quarterback just pulls it and runs.
So the weak defensive end?
Yeah, on the short side.
Okay.
If you watch him, he totally freezes up.
Yeah.
He's unblocked, and he's like,
Baker
had already run a couple times.
Yeah. He left outside behind the fence.
He just looks lost, for lack of a better term. So that kind of shows that some of the best offensive minds of the past, I got to start saying this different now, of the best 30 years have used this play. And as you can tell, Baker ran the ball 141 times, but he ran enough just to keep him honest. And that's kind of what you would expect from Arch Manning, to read enough just to keep teams honest. So here's what it looks like on the chalkboard. And it'll look a little different because this Y will be closer to the line of scrimmage. He can move around though. But what makes this maybe unique to the Sark system as opposed to what you were showing from Riley and from Osborne?
Sark's MO has always been to block with your tight end or your fullback. And you put as many of them on the field as you need to block to run the ball. USC Alabama, whatever. Like even putting a sixth offensive lineman out there, if that's what it takes to block the edge on your plays. This is shotgun option football, which Sark has been like almost morally opposed to up till now. But if your tight ends are not good blockers, and Arch Manning is a really good runner, and KJ Lacey is a really good runner, and Dia Bell is a really good runner, and you have this scheme where they only got to run it every now and then to keep defenses honest, and it lets you get away with playing a athlete flex tight end weapon at tight end instead of a burly blocker. Why not? Why not? And so like the why here, I don't draw him doing anything because he doesn't have to do anything to make this play work. You could have him go block a safety, which any tight end worth his salt should be able to do. You could have him go run interference for a receiver's route. You could have him go run a route. You could have him go block for a perimeter screen option. A number of easy things that like Jordan Washington could do, or that you could easily find somebody in the portal who could do. Because you're not asking them to block SEC defensive ends. Arch Manning blocks the SEC defensive end, and he blocks them by just looking at them.
Always make somebody in the wrong place. That's the key to option football, whether you're ignoring the forward pass or utilizing it pretty often. And I think one of the other things, and you explain how the tight end doesn't do anything, not nothing at all, but isn't, vital to the play.
He doesn't have to do anything hard. It's maybe the best way.
And I think some of the other things that you may have even written before on Inside Texas, which again, go head out and come join us for just $1, is that you can also attach numerous pass plays to this as well.
Yeah, and you can run. So something I mentioned this the other morning on live with Connor. Riley, when they went into Ohio State and Baker Mayfield planted the flag in the middle, they would have that Y was Dimitri Flowers, I think, and they would run a fake GT counter and have him pretend like he was going to lead up and block a linebacker or safety, and he'd go up to block and then just pick up and run down the field. And Baker Mayfield hit him for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Ohio State had no idea what was going on. And that was the main way that they beat him when Baker Mayfield planted the flag. It's Amari Winston, anybody? Imagine him doing that pretty easily. Certainly Jordan Washington. It's a good play. It's kind of strange that Lincoln Riley is one of the only people who majors in it, but that could change this year.
One of the other things is that, you're talking about Tom Osborne, who was I option for the most part. I mean, he had the wishbone for a little while, but he was I formation option. You talk about Lincoln Riley, who was air raid, but who obviously developed this power, this gap scheme run game, in addition to a lot of different things. How does Sark maybe mesh this a little bit more, considering what he likes to do is a lot different than the air raid or having Tommy, help me out, last name, the quarterback.
Tommy Frazier.
Well, Tommy Frazier. Instead of having Tommy Frazier back there, how does this maybe mesh a little bit more with what Steve Sarkisian does?
Well, you remember Ezekiel's wheel?
Oh, yeah.
Ezekiel's wheel had you could throw a post, you could throw a wheel route, you could throw a flat route, or you could hand off. But Ezekiel's wheel was actually technically built off zone read. But it was almost never, ever, ever a zone read where the quarterback pulled the ball and ran. Quinn Ewers pulled the ball and ran on that play twice in 300 attempts or something. And they were, I think, both for touchdowns. So you could do that with this play as well. You could run GT counter read, but you're so inside the defensive coordinator's mind that that end is not, what he's going to do. You can control him. And then you could start adding all kinds of wild stuff in the passing game to it, like Ezekiel's wheel. And that is how Sark makes something like this his own. Like Lincoln Riley runs this play. He has some pretty cool play action off of it. He has this crazy slip screen where the guys that don't pull, like, just start running down the field to go block for backside tunnel screen or something. Sark, I could see Sark adding 1 million RPO attachments to it, like Andy Reid might, or like Mike McDaniels, and then just going wild with RPOs. And we'll see exactly what they got in mind. But there's been some rumblings about this, so we know that it could get wild.
I think it's logical to talk about this. Every basically Texas football season this decade has seen a backup quarterback play. Is this something maybe Trey Owens can fit into, or they have to fit something else? I know we talk about how this can unlock Arch Manning in the offense thanks to his legs, his ability to make quick reads, quick throws, that type of thing. Can Trey do this, or do they kind of shelve this if that's what happens in a season?
No, I think KJ Lacey could. Trey Owens needs like more of a Quinn Ewers style playbook, but they don't have the Quinn Ewers tight end room. We'll see what they come up with in the portal this spring, but Trey Owens may be really good in time. He may take over when Arch leaves and be awesome and run his own different style. But I think if Texas has to play Trey Owens in a significant number of games this year, the season is capped.
I knew you were here, Chris, so I was waiting on you to post this stat because I knew it was on its way. But yeah, it's a lot of different years where they didn't have to play a backup quarterback. So interesting to see. It's going to be fun I'm excited for gap scheme stuff. I really think that we're hyping that up a good amount or inside Texas, and I think it's going to be fun to really track how guys like Neto Umeozulu, Cole Hudson, DJ Campbell are able to do that, and how Arch can play off of that in the pass game and the RPO game. Before we keep on going, and sorry if my connection is messing up a little bit. What'd you say, Ian?
I'd like to see that stat for Lincoln Riley's teams.
Oh my God. Yeah, could you get on that, Joe?
Lincoln Riley.
I'm sorry, my connection is yeah. Oh, the backup quarterback thing? That makes sense. We'll try to get the internet working here in Austin a little bit better. But before we do, we will show some love to our sponsor, and that is Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Days like this, the anticipation's half the fun. The call to adventure. Possibilities in every direction. Look at that. The stories you'll bring back. Even the true ones. And already, you can't wait until next time. From first catch to biggest catch of the season, this is where it starts. Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there.
Makes me want to go fishing.
I have a pond right near my house in the division that you can fish out of.
Really?
It's catch and release, but
well, that's good. That's good to know. That's good to know.
Trucks pulling up in the cul-de-sac all the time, and then kids come out with their poles. I haven't tried it myself.
Remember Max Headroom?
Who?
Max Headroom. It was from the 80s. It was an MTV show thing where the head was constantly digital and kind of glitching and kind of moving around. It shows my age, but that's kind of what Joe's been going through right now. Hey, we've got an all half-decade team, and I believe Joe Cook came up with this, and this was something that really had a lot of good conversation in our chats earlier today when we were talking about the all half-decade team. I mean, there were a few guys I had to try to fight for, but I think Joe did a tremendous job. He's back too. So if you want me to zone read this sucker to him, it's all good.
Oh man, there's nothing else using Wi-Fi in my house except for this computer, and yet. But thank you to Academy. Thank you for bearing with a little bit of technical difficulties. Let's look at this team. You know, we are now 5 seasons into the 2020s. Hard to believe, but we are halfway through. Most of it, of course, is the Sark era. The 1 year that was not was the tail end of the Tom Herman era. But a lot of these players are Sarkisian players, and we get to talk about them. Quarterback, I know that was maybe one where you think 2020 Sam Ehlinger could unseat Quinn Ewers. There's a conversation about it, but I there's no way I feel like I could leave off the guy who won a Big 12 title and led Texas to back-to-back Final Fours. Ian, do you want to be contrarian here?
Well, I argued a little bit in the when you brought this to the text thread, and I think this looks really good to me. The offensive guard is tough.
Yes.
It doesn't feel like they've had stellar guard play, and they've also not had very much guard play. Like the options at guard are who's played guard for Texas this half decade.
That's what you have. That's the biggest tell right there. We can't even remember who was playing guard the last before the Kelvin Banks pancake warehouse showed up. We can't even remember the bad lean times, who the offensive guards were. Like, I was going to make an argument for Derek Kerstetter.
Kerstetter played center and right tackle in 2020.
You're right.
And he played right tackle in like a game and a half of left guard. And I was like, we can't have Derek Kerstetter on this list at guard when he played there for like maybe 100 snaps in 2 years.
Was Vahe even there in 2020?
What?
Was Vahe even there in 2020? Or was that his last year?
I think that was his. No, it wasn't. That was when they replaced him with Parker Braun.
Oh, and then he got hurt in, what was it, spring ball or fall ball when he got hurt?
Who?
Patrick Braun. Didn't Braun get hurt?
No, he played.
Okay, I thought Braun was hurt. Keep going.
Oh, Angalau. Angalau got hurt. Angalau was supposed to be the left guard in 2020.
That's right.
He got hurt, and then I think he transferred and played somewhere else last year.
Oregon. I think he went to Oregon.
I don't even remember who played guard in 2021.
See what I'm saying? It's hard to remember some of these linemen pre-Kyle Flood. That's the kind of change the offensive line room has had in Austin since Sark has arrived. Is the fact that now, if we go in the 2010s, we can pull out a few guards that maybe flustered us a little bit. Maybe a couple centers that should not have been playing center at the Division I level. But the Pancake Warehouse group, it really erases the memory of what we were remembering beforehand in the late 2010s, early 2020s. It's funny how Flood has completely changed the mindset of these rooms coming about that. And that's what's funny, trying to come up with another guard, because we're so used to seeing Hayden Connor. I know Christian Jones didn't play inside. But I was trying to think of somebody else that had played guard in that year.
2021 is because 2021 started with like Christian Jones at left tackle, which was a disaster. It started with Denzel Okafor at left guard, and then
there we go.
Majors at center.
That right guard spot.
Wow.
Man.
Chris Bennett is saying Tope Ahmad. Tope Ahmad played some, but I don't think he started.
Amade wasn't a starter.
He played like at the end of the year. They started getting him. I think he played against Kansas.
Yeah, that was towards the end of the year.
You know, it makes sense to have the list mostly of guys that were there from 2022 to 2024.
It does. It
It's
really
2020
does.
to 2022 to 2021 were not great.
Yeah. No, it really does. It kind of shows you how ridiculous things were just 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And you know, you start with Quinn, you start with Bijan, and the running back room is a tough sell. Obviously, Bijan and Jonathan Brooks are your guys, but there's other dudes there. I got to tell you what, wide receiver. I mean, that's another room that shows you how much fun they've had with that, because Jordan Whittington didn't make this list, and that guy's going into his second season with the LA Rams. Like, I think it just shows how bad or how poor it was pre-Sark. That's the biggest takeaway I have from this early list, is just what you were kind of dealing with before Sark arrived, and just the bevy of prospects that have come through since. And I can make an argument for these guys right here that Joe has highlighted, but Whittington not being on there is crazy. And I even tried to vote him in as like a utility guy, but that's Rashawn Johnson, Mr. Utility. Like, that guy, a little bit, you know, a jack of all trades kind of guy. And so I can't argue with most of this list.
I liked that he put Rashawn Johnson as all-purpose.
Yeah,
because I kind of like him better than Brooks, but he didn't really get. Brooks played a bigger role than Rashawn. Rashawn played his biggest role when he carried Texas to through the end of the 2021 season.
Yes. They had a couple injuries there late, and I think he was the only one available. Explain to Chris Bennett why Sam Cosmi didn't make the list.
Sam Cosmi played in the shortened 2020 season, and he quit before the end of the year when they got eliminated from Big 12 title contention.
Correct.
So I don't think playing most of a failed season that got the coach fired and then quitting makes you eligible for a half-decade list.
No.
If it were like 2015 to 2020, he might get in there.
Oh, he would definitely get in there if it was 2015 to 2020.
I still don't like that Joe's highlighting it. I still don't like that he quit for the NFL. Before this, doing it before a bowl game, I made my peace with a while ago. But doing it at the end of the year, I just think it's lame. It's just lame.
It
and
is.
I know
that's coming from the problem. It kind of sucks is because he had come in with All-American status. So you kind of want to bring that leadership into the locker room because people are going to look up to you because of what you've accomplished. That wasn't the example you want for the locker room. You came in with those attributes and you did not fulfill your duties. Now
I kind of doubt that anyone on the team held it against him, though.
I 100% did. I didn't hold it against him.
I did for sure. But I don't know.
You did for sure. Like I kind of understood where he was coming from, and so
I don't like it.
But it left a sour taste in Texas fans' mouth. Definitely.
It also they bumped Kerstetter from center back out to right tackle, and then Kerstetter like tore his knee or something. And it was just like, man, it should have been. If Cosmi had been out there, this would not have happened.
I completely agree. All right, there's a lot of good stuff on the defensive side. We had some good arguments here, and once you look through this list, you're looking at basically 2/3 of these dudes are in the NFL, or all of these dudes are gonna be in the NFL at one point or another. Like, it's for the most part. It's kind of a deep list. Let's go through let's start near the line of scrimmage. It's tough to knock Baron Sorrell. Guy was basically a 4-year starter, got better, a little bit better every year. Joseph Osai was an interesting one because, Ian, I think you had an argument against him, but I think we need to be reminded that he was an All-American in his last year, and he was a terror in his last season in Austin. Like, I mean, he helped clinched the Oklahoma State game on the road. Osai was a monster. He's doing real good things with the Cincinnati Bengals right now. I think he's one of the pieces they're building around for their defense. Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, like just
all right, let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
We got a lot of time here to fill without Joe. Sorrell, I like because he's just been really good for a long period of that time.
Really consistent. Really, really consistent.
I tried to push back against including Osai, and Joe said he's an All-American.
Shame.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth and know your role was exactly what Joe Cook told me.
He didn't know his senior year.
Here's the knock on Osai is that it was a shortened season, and his numbers they probably would have been awesome if he played like a full season, but he didn't.
Right.
And again, it was like this failed 2020 season that got everybody fired. I think he's a worthy inclusion, but it's just he's only in there for 1 year. It was like the shortest season of this half decade.
He was also good in the other years he played. That was his best season.
Yeah, well, that was the only game. That was the only season they let him play edge. Because Orlando didn't use an edge. But Ethan Burke would have been an interesting choice here because you've got 2 good seasons from Burke. I think he could surpass Sorrell's career if he's really good this coming season.
Yes.
And then you could make a case, and I made a case for a minute, for Colin Simmons. I think Osai was better as like the only good player on the defense in 2020 almost.
Yeah.
Than Simmons was as a situational star in 2024. But it's almost close. Because Simmons was a freaking monster last year.
Yes. And that there's an argument to be made. If we make this list at this point next year, it might be Colin. It's probably Colin. If he builds off of what he did. Look, the interior D-line, like, throw a dart. Because you only get 2 choices here. You're leaving off 4 or 5 legit guys.
Yeah. I think both these were kind of easy, but
these 2 are. I think these were the 2 heads above the others. But you just talk about such a really, really strong room. I mean, it really, really was. Keandre Coburn,
yes.
Moro Jomo. And then you've had the last year, Vernon Broughton and Alfred Collins.
Taquan Graham in 2020 was really good.
Taquan Graham just, I believe he just re-signed with Atlanta. He was a very vital, strong piece. This has been the strongest position in the program in the last 7 to 8 years, if not even longer. If you go back to Charlie's years with Puna Ford and with Charles Amenahu and some of those guys.
And then Malcolm Brown.
God, Malcolm Brown was a first-round pick.
And then even at the end of Mac's tenure, it was Tank Jackson.
Chris
Whaley.
Chris Whaley had that breakout senior year where he was going to get drafted, and I believe he tore his Achilles at West Virginia.
Yeah, Texas, I've written about this a couple times, but Texas has not had – like you watch Nebraska over the last 10 years, and you're like, how did Nebraska fall off so hard? And you can find multiple seasons where Nebraska had dudes on the inside that were just getting shoved out of the way.
Yeah.
And no matter how bad it's gotten for Texas, they've never been bad on the interior D-line. They've always maintained that blue blood privilege of having special large humans at D tackle.
Yeah.
And yeah, these two are the best. These guys. That was unbelievable when they were together in 2023.
Also, products of Oscar Giles. Oscar Giles is the one that actually got those guys signed. I think Bo Davis wants to take credit for the development.
Why is Joe scrolling down?
Because we're looking at linebacker play now. We're going to jump into linebacker.
The list. I can't see the list.
Well, he's just scrolling to scroll. Joe, like he's doing what he does. Let's look at the linebackers: Jalen Ford, Anthony Hill, and DeMarvion Overshown. First question: are there any notable oversights here?
No, right?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. I think Overshown really, in a collective, wound up having a good career at Texas. It just took him forever to stay healthy on the field. Once he did, he was explosive, especially in his last season. Jalen Ford, go ahead.
I think Overshown, if you had to make this, like, Joe put 12 guys here and put an extra guy and doesn't have like a starting nickel. And if you made this the actual like base defense, so you only had 2 linebackers, Overshown would be the guy I would nix, and I would keep Ford and Hill.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Ford was the more consistent guy for sure.
Yeah.
Ford had his last 2 seasons in Austin were obviously his best, and he's parlayed that into a career with the New Orleans Saints. Anthony Hill played 2 years, and he's on this list. But after his freshman year, I think you could have, given him a vote. But after last year, you've got to put him on because he got progressively better every year.
His stats last year, real quick, were Anthony Hill, 113 tackles, 17 tackles for loss, 8 sacks, 1 interception, 1 pass breakup, and 4 forced fumbles. You're not going to find – you got to go back to like maybe Acho or Keenan Robinson with Diaz, but probably further back to like Derek Johnson to find a season anywhere near that impactful in terms of like counting stats. So Anthony Hill's easy.
Yeah, Anthony Hill's an easy one. I don't think there's any guys that we're missing on that list. I can't wait to see another year of Leona Lafau. Just talking to guys within the program, he's just an absolute dude. He understands the defense very well. He's very instinctual. And then you got a freak linebacker like a Ty Anthony Smith that I think is going to turn some heads there as well. But I don't think there's any omissions. I think this was a position that was pretty cut and dry with these 3. Let's jump back into the secondary because you know what? It is DBU. And they're going to hang their hat on that. And you know what? You almost take the entire secondary from 2024 simply because of how good it was. But really, I'm interested here in the Ryan Watts. I like that they have that Joe included him on here. And I like that Jade is playing at corner and not nickel. What are your thoughts there? Would you bring on another corner and maybe put Barron at star? Like, how would you mix and match this? I think he's got the safeties correct. You could make an argument for Jaron Thompson because even though he might not have been as athletic as the other guys, the numbers and everything else he did was wonderful. And he was a starter for 3 years and made plays. But is this kind of the setup you like? Is there something you would change?
I didn't love it when I saw it, but I was thinking through and I couldn't really do better. I think Cook is the spot that I would maybe try to change. If he hadn't tried to kill the eyes of Texas, I would say maybe Caden Stearns.
No. The eyes of Texas didn't have anything to do with it. Caden Stearns did not play football at Texas after his freshman year. He's just out there running around.
He was I thought he was solid in 2020.
No.
And Ash had him way out covering people.
Right. And then Jaron Thompson took his job.
Well, he graduated.
No. Jaron Thompson took his job during the season. Didn't Stearns get hurt and wind up kind of quitting the rest of the year? Remember, it was the Kansas State game that Bijan broke out in Manhattan. Jaron wind up starting that game. I think he even got a pick.
Yeah.
Chris, I had a vote for Brandon Jones, but Brandon was already in the NFL by the time the 2020 window had started. Brandon was gone, and so I would have had Brandon Jones here automatically. He's still playing in the league, but he just didn't make the cutoff.
So Jaron Thompson versus Anthony Cook. I feel like that's the debate.
Yeah.
Because at Taff and Makuba, I'm not replacing either of those guys.
No.
Even though Makuba only played 1 year, he was amazing.
Yes, buddy. Oh, man.
Barron and Watts, I think I feel best about those two at corner. I think Watts was underrated. But Jaron Thompson versus Anthony Cook, that's such a tough one.
It is because, I mean, you had two of them that, Cook brought a little bit more of that athleticism. Cook got better. I felt like he moved around a little bit. Once his body started to fill out his frame, I think he became more mature as well, especially those last 2 years. But, dude, Jaron Thompson, like, Beast Texas bias. I'm trying to tell you guys, like, Jaron Thompson is one of the smartest football players that's ever played. Like, holy crap. It's funny. I was talking to one of the coaches at Auburn like 3 or 4 months ago because he started last year for Auburn that last year. And I said, you know what? How is Jaron doing over there? How did he turn out? Because he knew I was close to him. And he said, oh, well, he's just the smartest football player I've ever met in my life. And he just said it just so matter-of-factly because Jaron was 2 steps ahead of everybody. And he had to be.
He got market corrected by Michael Taft, though.
He did.
You only need one
nerd. You only need one nerd in the secondary.
Yeah, and Taft supplanted him. But we all love Jaron. When he played, one of the saddest moments for last year for me was when Jaron's Auburn lost to Oklahoma.
You're telling me Oklahoma beat Alabama and Auburn in the same season?
In one of the worst seasons of Alabama football Oklahoma football history, one of their worst seasons of all time.
If that's not
beat Auburn and Alabama.
If that's not SEC, I'll kiss your behind. Like that's about right. That's about right. All right, hey, we need to pay some bills. Let's let our nice lady Laura talk it up for here just for a minute.
Hi, I want to tell you about Laura Baker. If you're looking for a new home in the 512 or even at this point, let's face it, 737 area code, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. As a member of the elite Andy Allen team with Keller Williams, Laura has helped Longhorns find the home of their dreams in Central Texas. Just ask our resident sex symbol, Ian Boyd, who moved all the way from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Laura can help you find what you're looking for in the 512, the 737, or even parts of the 254 and the 210. Just, give her a call at 512-784-0505. Her email is in the description as well as the rest of her contact details. She's a friend. Give her a call.
Special teams, which is the third phase.
Before you move on from our friend Laura Baker just helped some other friends of mine get a house.
Really?
Yeah, they were trying to. They were like, I think we can do this on our own. We can negotiate this with the home seller, and then things got kind of weird, and they didn't understand. It got hard to know what good prices were in the changing market, and they're like, forget it. What was her name again? And I said it was Laura Baker, and they went to Laura, and they got a great deal done, and they're moving into their house this summer. You guys got it.
That's what it's about, dude. That's awesome. See, Ian doesn't just deliver the best X's and O's content in the Texas market, hell, in the college football landscape. He helps you get a house. Like, I don't know many human beings that are better on this planet than Ian Boyd. That's just me being honest. This guy will teach you about, GT counter and how he can unlock Arch Manning. He'll also help you get a 2-story home.
Or a ranch, if that's your thing.
Or a ranch.
You got old knees. You don't want to go up and down the stairs. Find a ranch.
Oh, my God. You're talking about going up and down stairs in your 40s. You're hilarious, Boyd. You know what else is hilarious?
I still do it.
Okay, good. Well, you need to get your steps in. You got 4 kids to take care of.
Yeah.
So you got to keep your steps in. I know Miss Kat's doing her best.
I got a treadmill now for that, too. If the Horizon Treadmill Company wants to throw us some sponsorship, I'll talk about some of the weight I've lost on that thing.
Hey, what's the best thing about a treadmill is that it keeps you consistently going at a pace. It forces you to stay at a pace, which is good for your heart. It's good for a workout. I'll tell you what's not good for your heart and good for a workout: the special teams at Texas. And listen, Texas has actually had it pretty good, except for Bert Auburn's nervous breakdown midway through last year. I think Texas has been pretty good here. Let's start with kick return and punt return. Xavier Worthy was just a one-man show when it came to doing that. Silas Bolden, to me, was the Mr. Heart Attack, because no matter what he did, I felt like something was about to happen. But talk up about Xavier Worthy and Keelan Robinson. I don't think we could replace either one of these guys. These two were made in a factory for just doing this. And I think they were both, obviously Worthy is an All-American, so he did pretty well. And are we missing somebody here besides maybe Deshaun?
I kind of feel like we should have included a spot for Gunner. This is like Captain Hindsight here. Joe did all the work on this.
The Keaton Crawford role.
Yeah, the Gunner and the block guy. I don't know if that's the name. I don't know what they call that. But
the Josh Thompson.
The Keelan Robinson. The guy that he tries to set up to block punts, he being Jeff Banks.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking about Keelan returning, and I forgot he blocked a couple punts.
I don't even remember Keelan's return that much. Returns are no longer a big part of the game. If you have dangerous people back there like Texas, they just kick it out the back of the end zone, or they sky kick it or whatever.
Right.
You don't punt return and punt block is where it's at. Everybody else is basically just kicking it out the end zone and kicks.
Good
so
point.
Kickoff coverage is not that big of a. It's important, but it's not that big of a thing.
I forgot about Robinson's gunner stop being able to come off that edge and block punts. I forgot he was effective doing that.
Punting on either side of the ball, blocking or kicking them, and field goals are getting diminished a little bit too, because people are realizing you should just go for it on fourth down more.
I think that's why the NFL backed it up.
So I kind of, if we were going to throw in like a gunner spot, it would probably be Keaton Crawford, right?
Yeah.
And it might be Ryan Niblett down the line. It was.
Yeah, he did a little bit of that. Yeah. Crawford was the most effective.
They thought it was going to be Trey Weisner, and then instead they needed him to run the ball.
Yeah, Weisner had that role for a season as a kamikaze, which is actually what caught the coaches their attention on his abilities.
He's awesome. I feel like I'm diminishing Trey Weisner all the time.
Oh, no.
Because I don't think he's like that elite of a running back. But he's just an all-time Longhorn, man. He's been so awesome the last couple of years.
He is the definition of a junkyard dog. He's similar to Jaron in the way they were growing, the way they grew up, and the kind of the things they had to go through, the hardships they had to deal with, things that most people don't ever have to experience or understand. Those guys lived it. And so Weisner is just this unbelievably gracious person, because he has seen such the other side of what the world can be. And he's come out of it. And he's just got such a great attitude and such a heart. Like if you met Trey out and about, you probably wouldn't know that he's a running back at Texas. You wouldn't know he's a football player, to be totally honest with you. If you talk to him, he doesn't really bring it up. He's just a good person. And Trey is the perfect locker room guy. Like if you've got a handful of Trey Weisners in your locker room, your culture's good. Your culture is in a great spot, just because they're going to show up and work every day. That's all they've ever known. And so
a lot of those DeSoto kids are like that for whatever reason.
And he grew up in Waco Connolly. He grew up in the middle in a bad area of Waco, but he moved to DeSoto for 1 year. But he actually grew up and played around with Kobe Black and Jelani McDonald and all those guys. That's why they're so close. And so DeSoto gave him that senior year, gave him an opportunity to go to the state championship, get him a ring, really helped out Claude Mathis and that staff. But he actually came from Connolly in Central Texas, and that's where he was born and raised. And, I've been over to that school a ton of times. It's not the best area, but there are some of the best kids you can imagine. Terry Garrick and Quentin Snell and those guys do an unbelievable job at Conley, like unbelievable. And Wisner is proof of that. Cameron Dicker gets mentioned twice.
Yeah.
So your kicker name is Dicker and your punter's name is Dicker too. You're going to have to explain this one to me and this is where we need Joe the most, because Joe is our expert when it comes to the kicking game. I don't know if you've ever seen his exploits on Huddle. Joe Cook was a madman, similar to Shane Leckler, maybe Reggie Roby. It was phenomenal. And so, why is Cameron Dicker on here twice? I know why he's on here once. He was a madman kicking the football. He was one of those Mac Brown type kickers. He just came through. You just figured out you had a guy, and he would be consistently great for the 3 or 4 years that he did it. Why is Cameron Dicker on here as a punter?
So he punted in what does it say? 2021. He was all Big 12 punter.
Right.
And then our notes from I think that's Connor now says Sanborn was honorable mention, I guess last year.
Couldn't have been last year.
Yeah. No, I mean, sorry, 2023.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was all conference that year, Sanborn.
Honorable mention.
Yeah, I'm still a little surprised by that.
He was great.
Was he really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
We know
did Cameron Dicker do more of the rugby style punts, kind of like Justin Tucker did a little bit, where you kind of run and scramble to the side a little bit and punt it? Was that not his thing? I felt like that was something he was doing.
Dicker's punting left very little impression on me. But in 2021, I know he was doing it a freaking ton.
Yeah.
Because I remember 2021 was the year where Sark would come in with an awesome script, and then they just pounce on the other team, and Texas would be up like 28-13 going into the half. And then the well would go dry, and they just start 3-and-out over and over and over again. And the defense would run out of gas and get run over, and then they blow this huge lead every single week and then lose the game. So I think because that was what was happening, it was hard to appreciate what Dicker was doing as a punter, because he was like, "Oh my God, we're punting again! Oh my God, it's been 5 minutes since the last punt." Like, I thought we came back from a commercial break to punt from the last punt, and now we're already punting again. I just went to grab chips, and we're punting. Oh, Daniel Trejo! I forgot about Trejo.
Yeah, so did Daniel Trejo's family. Bless his heart. Cameron Dicker's a no-brainer at kicker. He's one of the best kickers in the NFL right now. Just stay out of the massage parlors, Cameron, please. Just stay out of those. We don't need those anymore.
I hope Sideshow Bert gets a redemption season this year.
He's going to try to. He's going to go Bob Marley. He's gonna try to get him a redemption song. He had 2 great years his first 2 years. He just got a little bit of the yips last year. Let's move on, since special teams has been covered extensively, to some non-conference stuff. And it starts with Ohio State. Like, nobody's got a better opening game for 2025 than the Texas Longhorns and the Ohio State Buckeyes. And it's funny because the Horns, they come right out of the gate, headed to Columbus. I'm not sure you could find a tougher first game in the season. Like, I don't know if you could set it up any rougher and tougher than what Texas did. The 3 games after that are going to be pretty smooth sailing. But, man, heading to Columbus, Arch's first year, it's really his baby. Hey, that game to me stands out.
Why in the world did they put LSU at Clemson over Texas at Ohio State?
Because they're trying to hype up the Garrett Nussmeier, Cade Klubnik battle.
That's a great battle. I want to watch it. I hope they're not on at the same time. But is anybody at On Free want to take a bet with me on which of those 2 games will have better ratings?
I'm not because I don't know why LSU and Clemson are at the top of that. You got a rematch.
It's a night game, I bet.
You got a rematch. Do what?
I bet it's the night game, and we got the nooner.
Well, it's Death Valley and Clemson too, I believe. Isn't that what do they call it?
Yeah, I feel like every stadium in the Southeast is called Death Valley.
No, I mean LSU owns that, but I think Clemson also uses a part of that as well. I don't care what time of day. It's not a better game than the rematch of the semifinal, which was essentially what we learned the national championship. Like I'm not going to do that. That dog's not going to hunt. Texas Ohio State's going to be so much fun, guys. And they're going to be two totally different teams. Ohio State, look, hey, Julian Sayin spinning the rock this spring. I think Ryan Day's got a guy that can throw the ball down the field now. And I'm not knocking Will Howard, but I'm knocking Will Howard.
Dude, he just won the freaking national championship.
He did not win the national championship. Ohio State won the national championship because they had the best depth in college football, top to bottom, last season. It was not because of Will Howard, and you know that.
I bet you that Will Howard wins more rings, championship ring. I bet you that Julian Sayin does not win a national championship at Ohio State.
Do you think Julian Sayin would have an opportunity to, had he been surrounded with the cast that Will Howard was given?
No.
With those receivers?
Because the little things that because it's not that freaking hard to play quarterback when you have Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka.
That's kind of my point on Howard.
Sayin is going to have that same thing, but it becomes about the little things that the quarterback does,
which he was really good at,
and like running the ball.
Yeah, well, that's where he was
the ball now and then.
Right. Julian's not running the football,
so he's not going to be better.
Right. He's going to be a statue.
Because look, you're right. Julian Sayin is a way more gifted passer than Will Howard. But when you're at Ohio State, you get diminishing returns on arm talent really fast. Because you don't need that much arm talent to throw the crap out of the ball at Ohio State because you're throwing to NFL dudes.
Exactly.
So you don't have to have these super talented it actually is more valuable to have game manager Howard who can make the difference running the ball in a couple spots.
Especially he's a veteran and he had been through some wars and he had played Texas 5 times. I mean, that's tough task to ask anybody. No, Howard to me was a gamer. Like he understood the tempo and the momentum and how to get his guys right, get in and out of plays, audibles, things of that sort. He played really well. I think he played pretty well against Texas. They only had a few drives that were significant. And the last play of the first half to Trayvon was half of his yards. But Julian Sayin looks good, and I'm just a sucker for a kid that could spin the ball. And that to show you about Sayin, Texas wanted him. He was one of the rare kids that gets offered at quarterback by Sark. That's how impressive he was. But yeah, that game's above LSU, Clemson. Tell me what outside of those top 2 games, what's the most interesting one left on this list, and then I'll give you one.
Well, I got a Michigan at Oklahoma.
Dude, that's like wrapping a present with a real pretty bow.
Both those teams have so many question marks. Whoever loses that game is going to be looking at the rest of their schedule and going, oh, no. Oh, no.
So this game could have massive repercussions for these.
A lot of Schadenfreude potential.
So who's Oklahoma's quarterback? Is it going to be Michael Hawkins?
No, remember they got Mateer for $3 million.
That's right.
Our guys at On3 reported it's like a 2-year deal for $3 million.
Man, what it's like to be really good in the Pac-2. Michigan's going to start Bryce Underwood. We all know that. And so I think Venables might have some stuff dialed up for Mr. $1 million quarterback. For me, wait a minute. Okay. I was thinking this is all the opening week games, but now I'm kind of seeing it a little bit clearer. Because I see Clemson on there again. Man, they've got Auburn at Baylor on here.
Yeah.
Actually, that might not be a bad game.
Yeah.
It really won't.
I don't know. It's probably not going to get. It better be on in between LSU, Clemson, and Texas, Ohio State.
Yeah. Well, look at this one. They've got TCU at North Carolina on here. I'm going to give you one guess why North Carolina's on this list.
It's the reason I want to watch that game.
That's exactly what it is. People are going to tune in to UNC like they tuned into Colorado the last 2 years. Yeah. Chapel Bill. Dude, that's the good stuff, Boyd. I love that. And, you know what? TCU, they lost some dudes. Let's see what Sonny Dykes. So I think his back's against the wall this year. Like I think Sonny's going to have to do some good things. The shine off of that national championship appearance feels like a decade ago for those guys.
What is Colorado not playing anybody in the opening in the non-conference?
Normally Colorado plays like the School of Mines, Colorado State, Idaho, which would be a tough battle actually. Colorado doesn't really play many teams that are very good. You know, it's funny. We were looking up I was talking to a draft guy the other day about Shadur Sanders. And if you look back from his high school tape, Trinity Christian, his college tape, Jackson State in Colorado, and his entire life, and I'm not including 7-on-7 or 8th grade, has he ever faced a defense that had anybody go to the NFL? Ever?
Yeah.
Who?
Sure.
Who?
In the Big 12.
Who?
He faced NFL defenders in the Big 12.
Okay. Give me a team with more than one.
Did they play or they did not play Arizona State last year, did they? Who did they play last year?
The point my buddy made was he's the first practice in the NFL is going to be the hardest thing he's ever done.
Yeah.
He has never faced anybody. He was nothing but private school in high school. Jackson State is essentially kind of that level at the college level. And then at Colorado, the thing he had to deal with the most in Boulder was the high altitude. It wasn't the defense. They didn't play anybody. And I think Shadur's going to be knocked for that before the draft. I think they're going to look at it and go,
he should be.
This guy has really never played against anybody ever. And I think he actually has talent. I think he's got skills. I think he's got some arm talent. I think he could be a productive guy. I think the system has to really fit him, and I think it's just going to take some time. But I think the gap between him and Cam Ward is Grand Canyon. Just massive. Cam Ward
Grand Canyon State instantly Colorado's opening game next year.
GCU, baby. GCU.
His toughest game last year on the schedule that I see was facing Rules Nebraska defense. And Nebraska beat Colorado 28-10 last year.
And that defense wasn't that great.
They're pretty good. Matt Rule knows what he's doing.
No, he does. He does. And he makes the best out of what he's given, I feel like. But no, you're not going to convince me that defense is any good. This is a good question. Matthew's got a good question here. I think this is something we need to focus on more that we don't. Matthew Hutchinson says, will Bill's girlfriend sit in the suite or the student section? Okay, here's the deal.
It's an easy question.
It's an easy question. Both. Because no, listen. First of all, she's going to sit in the suite because that's the free food.
Yes.
She gets wined and dined. She gets to be the status, exactly. The Chapel Bill's girlfriend. She still has to have a good time. She's still she's still a teenager. So she still has to have a good time. So she's going to head down to the student section at probably around halftime. She's had a few free drinks because she's going to have to find a date later at least somebody to take her to a fraternity party later that night. And I'm curious how she's going to cross over with the players. That's an appetite for disaster. I mean, that's a recipe for some real disaster. And so, I know we give Bill a lot of crap, but that's a great question, Matthew. I'm so glad that you're here and contributing.
What are the odds we get Chapel Bill's girlfriend, Tom Brady, and then like some super famous starlet babe with Tom Brady in the suite at some point in Chapel Hill? I don't think we're going to see Giselle in there, although I wouldn't rule it out.
There's a really good chance of that, Ian. I think there's a really good chance of that. But I'm going to say this too, because it needs to be said. I don't know if Bill and Tom are still on the best of terms.
I thought that. And then I learned, at least this is what our friends at Sooner Scoop are saying, that Tom Brady called Jeff Mateer on Chapel Bill's behalf to try to sell him on transferring to North Carolina rather than Oklahoma. So if that's true, it sounds like Brady and Chapel Bill are back on good terms.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I mean, that's I like that. You don't want any hard feelings between those two, but the way they parted was not in the most Super Bowl champion way. But
Spring Daddy points out he came to the roast where Tony Hinchcliffe had just an unbelievable run.
Tony is unbelievable, to be totally honest with you. That guy is a champion. I love him on those roasts, man. He's outstanding. Okay. Any other things? Any other questions you want to get in really quick in the chat? The Cowboys got Joe Milton. Chris Bennett says. Do you want to know my thoughts on that? It'll take 2 seconds.
Yeah, go.
Meh. I mean, so they're going to get Trey Lance 2.0. Gotcha. All right. Yeah. That's the Cowboys acting like they're doing anything upon anything about anything. The Cowboys are actually looking at drafting a quarterback this year, and I think now that they've traded for a guy that will never be a quarterback in the NFL, they feel like they've done their job. So, yeah, praying Dallas tanks for Arch in 2 years. Listen, you're not going to meet a bigger Dallas Cowboys fan. You're just not than myself. I do not want Arch Manning in Dallas. Do not now. If Jerry Jones happens to die and things change in Dallas, yes, 100% tank for Arch. Let's have a party. Let's do this the right way. But if Jerry Jones is still alive, if he has anything to do with the organization, the franchise, no. And you know who else says no? Cooper Manning. You think Cooper Manning's going to let his son go to that disaster? Just like he wasn't going to let his son go to the disaster of the Chargers. Wasn't going to happen. So, yeah, I would love Arch in Dallas, but until they bury Jerry, don't bring anybody to Dallas. They have a hard enough time signing the guys they have. Hey, thank you so much for being a part of our day, our Thursday morning on the IT Live. Thank you so much, Academy Sports. They take care of us here. Joe Cook sends us.
Take care of you.
Let
Academy Sports and Outdoors take care of you.
Yeah, let them do it. Listen, it's baseball season. My son and I already had to go into Academy for big league
torpedo bat.
Oh yeah, you know what? That's $400. It's not happening, Daddy. Not happening. And I love the guys, the stand-up comedians that joke about, yeah, I just spent $500 for a bat. My kid's batting 174 and playing right field. Yeah. I was like, yeah, well, my kid hits the ball pretty well, and he still isn't getting that thing. So that's the way that works. But, yeah, just come see us at InsideTexas.com. Honestly, we do have so much fun. And this YouTube show is kind of a byproduct of the fun we have in our community. We have so much joy over there. We're running a special right now. $1 gets you 4 months. That gets you into the summertime. That gets you post June official visits. And that's when the recruits kind of start dropping and finding their spots in that time. Come see us for that. We've got even more spring practice report. Eric put one up last night. Good stuff there. You need to check that out. I'm going to have another recruiting story coming up here pretty quick. Charlie Williams will as well. Ian Boyd will be on the board and answer all of your questions, even if they involve Oklahoma. Ian, it's been a pleasure as usual. Always love seeing your face. When you comb your hair, I know you're bringing it. And that's what you did today, like you do every day. Ian is a champion of the world, people. And if you don't know that, that's y'all's fault. Hey, this show is brought to you by the Academy Sports and Outdoors. Thank you so much for joining us on the Inside Texas YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.